Next time you're in Dollar Tree, head on over to their Craft or Square section and grab one of their canvases. I grabbed these. Go ahead and pick up whatever you would like. We're going to be using them to dupe some high-end canvas decor I found on Kirkland's. Now, people, they're a little wonky, okay? Listen, it's Dollar Tree. We're, creating on a budget. Grab whatever canvases you want. I wanted to work with this shape, okay? For the design on the canvas, I'm going to be using a TDS Creative Decoupage tissue paper. Absolutely use whatever you would like. You can take this idea and remix it. I'm using the canvas just to kind of put around the decoupage tissue paper and figure out what section I want it to use. And next, I'm just kind of creasing it off. If you want to actually print out a photo and do this, or if you want to use gift wrap paper, something you download offline, this idea can be taken and used to create so many beautiful ideas. And the secret to making a faux canvas piece is some glossy Mod Podge. Well, use whatever glossy medium you would like. This is my go-to, okay? I've used this stuff a multitude of times. You could use whatever medium you would like for the actual decoupage portion, but you need a gloss to create that end finish on the canvas. If you're doing this with a napkin, you want to go section by section, but since I'm doing it with the tissue paper, I just put a layer all over it. And then I'm coming in with my water bottle and giving the back of the tissue paper a little spritzy spritz. I don't recommend this with a napkin, but for rice paper or tissue paper, this will work out just fine. While the Mod Podge is still wet, I just take the tissue paper and gingerly press it down. And keep in mind, there are little raised sections on these canvases at Dollar Tree. It's not completely smooth. So if you're going to scrape over it, it is possible you'll pop little holes in your decoupage paper. Just be gentle, okay? If you want to use some cling wrap, that'll work too. Allow it to completely dry and then bring on in your finger sander, whatever kind of sander you would like. I'm just going to use my little finger sander here. You can pick these up at Walmart. This one is from Temu for anyone interested. I get asked that a lot. And then just straight sand off the excess using an up and down motion. Make sure to dust away any extra crusty bits laying around, and then grab some more of that glossy Mod Podge and apply a nice juicy layer all over the top. Allow it to completely dry, and then you have a beautiful glossed over piece that looks like a faux canvas that you can display in your home. People, I found this 3-pack of unfinished wood round pieces at Dollar Tree that I thought would be a perfect base for this Kirkland dupe. Now let's be honest, for $1.25, we get 3 pieces of wood, but they're really, really thin, flimsy pieces of wood. So for a minute, I had to think to myself, is this gonna work out with just one of these? And I decided the answer was no, and grabbed a smaller one and some of my Titebond Quick and Thick to attach the two. Unfortunately, we're at the bottom of the bottle here. Oh man. I hate when that happens and you don't feel like running to the store. I made the most of it and grabbed a paintbrush and made sure to smear it all over the place. Get a nice smushing of what little bit of that Titebond Quick and Thick I had. And then tried to clamp it down and realized the little baby clamps I had weren't really going to cut it, and I didn't feel like going and finding my big ones. In the event that you come across this, here's a little tip. Grab some paint sticks or some pieces of trim, long piece of wood, whatever, and put them across the length of what you're trying to clamp down. And then pop it off to the side and allow it to dry. The next day, you can come back, take off the pieces that are on top of the paint sticks, and your pieces should be adhered together just like this. Now the reason why we add that small piece is it flattened out and made our thin top piece a little bit more stable. For the legs, I'm going to use these little wine cork bottle tops that were gifted to me. You can absolutely use whatever type of legs you would like for your piece. And since I happen to run out of my type on quick and thick, I grabbed my next go-to, which is some tacky glue to attach our little cork wood sections here to the bottom of our riser we're duping. Then I set this off to the side and put a little weight on the top of it and allowed it to dry. Once it's dry, then it's time to give it that gray weathered look. There are a couple different ways you can go about this. I've redone furniture and sanded them down and created different weathered looks. But the technique I'm going to use today is to give it a first light brown layer of chalk paint. And I'm also using some water to thin that out. Once I had a very sparse layer, I grabbed some antique Waverly wax and a cloth and then sprayed that down, and also sprayed our piece down and took the wax going across the entire piece. This is just going to give us different variations. Another technique I use when I'm doing this, whether I'm using a poly stain or whatever, is you do the dark stain first, you allow that to set, and then you can come in with white paint or a light gray paint and go over top of it and kick it back. You're just going to pull it off your piece. This is just a quicker, easier way of doing that and skipping a couple steps when you're doing a small little craft. And I think the weathered look turned out beautifully for our dupe. Dollar Tree has these little ceramic vases that I thought would be the perfect base to dupe this high-end looking piece I found on Kirkland's. For the paint, we're going to use this multi-surface. It's one of my favorites whenever you're working with ceramics. It even says on the back that it works well with ceramics. And if you're working with ceramics and have never worked with them before, you want to make sure to try and paint over them, especially before you're doing a transfer or applying anything onto them. They're pretty porous. And you can see here where the difference is from the original color of just the ceramic without the paint and the paint. Make sure to allow your piece to dry completely before you move forward doing anything else. If you want to put a sealer over this before you get started, you go right ahead. I didn't have to. For the transfer, I'm going to be using one of my TDS Creative transfer pieces. These are currently in my mystery sample sets. Never know which one you're going to get. This is one of my favorites, and I thought it would be perfect to use as that cascading floral section from the Kirkland's dupe. Absolutely use whatever transfers you would like, or get a napkin and you can decoupage them from the top of your face down. Before you apply transfers on anything, you want to do one of two things. Make sure your paint is either completely dry or seal over it and allow that to dry. If you don't, there's a good chance when you're applying the transfer that you're noticing the transfer is not sticking and it's peeling up. In some cases, it could be the transfer is just not that sticky, but most of the time in my experience, it's just operator error and it's crafters, and I know me, I get impatient sometimes. But it's just best if you allow it to dry and then pop on your transfer. Our dupe had a little ring around the top of the vase, so I grabbed some of my black paint and put a little bit on my finger and did just the same. I love these beautiful ombre vases I found at Kirkland's, and I knew we could dupe this ombre look using some Dollar Tree hurricane vases. Well, just one really. We're gonna start off by grabbing some paint. I'm gonna be using this white paint by Waverly and this beautiful color. I love DIY's paint. It works really well on glass. And I didn't really have any blue in the Waverly. We're going to also need some pouncers, 2 for the main colors and 1 extra for our blending pouncer. Grab you some gloves, make sure you clean off your glass, and then spit shine that sucker up nice and fancy. I'm just kidding. Don't spit on the glass. I mean, you can if you want, but I didn't really spit on it. I washed it and then I took a piece of fabric, and as you can see, I'm making sure there's nothing on it. Anyhow, we're going to start off by taking some of the white color and putting it at the top, and we're just going to tappity tap tap tap. Now, if you choose to use this method with a paintbrush, you're going to get basically the same resolve. I've been painting on glass for a really long time, and 90% of the time I start with a pouncer, even just the first layer. It goes on better, and then I'll come back with a brush. The streaks are a pain to cover for me, so this is just a preference. It's, you're going to get the job done either way, so pick your poison, okay? At the end of the day, this is your first layer, okay? I left a gap in the middle, and then I'm going to come back in with the second layer and start closing the gap. Again, if you're using a paintbrush, you're going to do the same thing, okay? But we're using a pouncer. So we're going to gently tappity tap 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 to where we get to the point that we meet in the middle. Now, I like to do this gingerly so I can see where those lines meet up and if I like the height ratio on the paint colors. Completely up to you. If you want to just get right to the point, you do you. When you get to the center, make sure both paint's wet, and then take your blending brush, give it a little spritz, and then tappity tap 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 real gingerly over the sections where the 2 paints meet. Again, both paints should be wet. You're going to need to constantly keep dabbing and cleaning off and spraying that blending brush. This is going to allow a clean blend. If it gets too much of one color on it, it will smoosh into the other color, making it a little uneven. And in the event that happens, you see here I'm taking that white and going back over it up at the top, blending it down, and I'm doing the same thing with the darker color and coming up darker, blending it up, and then meeting with the blending brush. It took me about 30 minutes to actually get this blend all around the hurricane vase. It is a little bit of a trial and error thing. I've been doing this for years. I've done it on furniture, but trust me, once you get it, you get it. Now we're going to take this glossy Mod Podge and apply a nice layer all over our piece. Though this way it mimics our Kirkland's coastal pieces that we had and has a beautiful shine to it. This little set of 3 figures cost $39.99 at Kirkland's, and I thought we could definitely go to Dollar Tree and find a set of 3 of something and dupe it with a paint. I'm going to be using some Waverly chalk paint for this. Feel free to use whatever you would like, and if I'm being completely honest, just spray paint the suckers. Yeah, I mean, I used a pouncer and did a little tappity tap 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 all over the 3 pieces, okay? But it was still painstaking because there were so many little itty bitty grooves and branches. Not gonna lie, I was like, I'm not even painting the back because it's my job to just offer you inspiration. I did grab a little detail brush. People, on a reel, the first coat took me 20 minutes, okay? It's a really cute idea, okay, to take any of the figures at Dollar Tree because they have plenty, not just houses, okay? And paint them a solid color. And then grab you a little accent. This is my Dixie Belle bronze. I got this on a recent trip. I went with my friend Tammy, who's actually part of our community. Hi, Tammy. And we found this retailer at local thrift market, and I lost this bronzer. I don't know where it was, but I found it in a bag and a whole, anyhow. I found it. I was super excited because I love Dixie Belle's gilding waxes. And I smeared some with the paintbrush and my finger all over the top and all around the edges to give a little bit of accent to these pieces. If you're looking for more Dollar Tree duping inspiration, check out this video right here. And as always, people, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And until next time.